Alright, here it is, the last video of today, Rogue Storm, Age of Revelation Part 9. Now, if you checked out my video that was Unbreakable X-Men, I told you that there are going to be two different rogues throughout this story. The one that we saw in Unbreakable X-Men is Rogue Green. The one we're seeing in this one is Rogue Red. And it's going to fully explain what happened, how it happened, and what led to where we are right now, where Rogue is trying to take down Storm. This story puts us 5 years into the Age of Revelation. Mjolnir smashed, flying in space. The Sahara Desert completely iced over. Atlanta is an absolute wasteland. The Amazon rainforest burns down to the ground. Most notably about all of that is that the Sahara Desert froze over. Here, what we have is Storm's own little fortress of solitude, but with 4 guardians at the gates. Surrounding this fortress are tanks, armored vehicles, and everything else in between. It appears that the world militaries, they tried marching on Storm. They tried taking her on, and they lost. When the world was thrown into chaos, they loved Storm. She was there to help them, protect them. But one day, suddenly, without warning, their Storm goddess was driven mad. For the good of the planet, they must brutalize their god. This is where we pick up with Rogue Red. Sitting out here with Gateway, they're planning their assault of this fortress. The big issue here is that not only did we see that Storm was chained up and not really understanding why, chained up in her own fortress, almost as if she was forced to be put here. The big issue is that the desert is freezing and it's expanding. If someone doesn't stop Storm, she will send the entire world into an ice age. With the help of Gateway, Warpath, Iceman, all these individuals are charging in and they're starting war. But they also have some extra artillery by their side, some extra weapons to help take down the Storm engines. These guys straight up just live for war. They say you point us in the direction of the enemy and we'll take them on, we'll fight them. But this is when one of the Storm engines, the lead one, comes forward and says that it is the joint consciousness and operating system of the Storm engines, that the mother's work is not to be disturbed, that they must teleport immediately or they will be decimated. Now, our heroes, they introduce themselves as the Uncanny X-Force, and they don't decimate easily. This is where all hell breaks loose. Another of the Storm engines drops in, and our rhino dinosaurs just start dropping artillery on them. Their big main cannons start unloading, and they're actually able to drop one of the Storm engines pretty damn quickly. But there's still 3 more standing. When one of them shoots a huge bolt of energy, we see Gateway absorb it. He didn't send it anywhere, he absorbed it all into his body, but when he goes to use it, the main Storm engine drives a sword right into his chest. Now, these Storm engines fully believe that Storm and Storm alone can save the world. That if she is allowed to do her work, she can slow the advance of the Armageddon. But with the death of Gateway, Bobby absolutely loses it. We see Iceman go straight kaiju, with Warpath coming in and driving his vibranium blades into these guys, taking down the Storm engines one by one. While all of this is going on, they tell Rogue Red to get out of here. They say that you don't have her power, you're not Rogue Green, so don't even try it. And this is where we get that explanation of how Rogue Red and Green came to be. She was on a mission to rescue those in her care from an immortal elder of the universe. She was caught off guard and forcibly split into 2 personalities. The original, which is Rogue Green, and the copy, Rogue Red. Rogue Red with all the memories, none of the powers. Heartbroken watching Gambit ride off with Rogue Green, she goes to Storm Sanctuary. In here, she finds a safe haven. In here, she finds a friend. Someone that equips her with some brass knuckles that are as durable as adamantium, with the kinetic energy manipulation of vibranium, and the amplification properties of Mysterium, which amplifies both of the other metals in the presence of Mysterium. She may have lost her strength, but she's not entirely useless. And so Storm trained her. her, propped her up, helped her make sure that she could defend herself in this world without powers. And so in present day, we see her put on those brass knuckles and she goes toe to toe with the storm engine. She fights to prove herself, to prove to the world that she is her own person, not an inferior replica. She puts the agony of self-doubt, heartbreak, abandonment, betrayal into every last strike. Now this is what takes us over to Nigeria. Most likely this is taking place prior to her, changing the entire Sahara Desert. She made her way into this village. She made her way into the depths of the water. But getting down here, she begins to kill. Absolute carnage. This is the currency of the gods. To kill a god, you must outspin them in brutality. You must send them to the lowest circles of hell from which none can return. A failed deicide incurs genocide. The primal storm is death incarnate, vengeance personified. And so as Storm cuts down as many fishmen as she sees, she asks, "Where are the murderers that you shelter?" And that is where this issue will end. Alright, so this is an interesting story that leaves us with a hell of a lot of questions. I guess first and foremost, who was the elder that was able to split her into two personalities, essentially creating a clone of her, having all of her memories and none of her powers? Question number one. Question number two. Storm was in her fortress, protected by her storm engines, but she also looked to be imprisoned. Kind of conflicting there. If they are there to come and murder her, did someone place her there? Was this Revelation's doing? Did Revelation place her there in a move to try and do something? Who the hell knows? But it is kind of weird that she's chained up there. But the bigger question, I guess, is what drove her mad? What drove her to the point that she was ready to cause another ice age to try and stop Revelation? Judging by her absolute brutality and carnage, we have to assume that Namor is going to have some kind of play in everything going on. Now, with all that being said, I think my biggest gripe coming to the Age of Revelation is the amount of concessions that I have had to put into place to make the story that is in its entirety believable. From Rogue to Jean Grey to all of our heroes in between. I have had to make so many concessions being like, alright, for the sake of the story, this makes sense. But in reality, half of these don't make sense. It's not really, it's just not hitting. It was off to a good start. It had a lot of good premises. But I mean, even Rogue Green going against Galactus has absolutely nothing to do with Age of Revelation. In fact, Galactus being there is kind of pointless. Like, Galactus just shows up, he's like, hey guys, I need a new herald, and that person that can make shields, I want that person to be my herald. Like, what the hell are we talking about? This honestly is, it's not great. It's not fantastic. I'm here to see, honestly, just some shock and awe. Some big explosions, maybe Gambit just going absolutely ham, but I'm not taking this serious. I'm not taking it as any kind of big story that's going to be remembered for years to come. Age of Revelation is going to be a one-time read, and people are going to forget about it in 2 years. That's probably where we're sitting at right now. It's going to be that story that happened after Krakoa that nobody was really liking, that kind of felt like Krakoa, but it also felt like it was missing what made Krakoa its heart and soul. I guess what, Jonathan Hickman? That's what's missing from it. Now, it's missing a lot of good writing, good in-depth storytelling, and that's what sucks about these future stories. They really do lack the in-depth stories that got you to that point. All the heartache, all the sorrow, all the trauma, everything that built up to that, and that's what people loved Krakoa. Now, I know there's some of you out there like, Krakoa sucked. Yeah, screw off, I don't care. Krakoa was good, and I don't care who you are. You're not gonna argue with me that Krakoa was a bad story. Krakoa was good, and it was good because you got to tell a story. You got to, years expanding out, you got to tell these stories. You got to be able to explain what's happening. You got to see the character growth, the character development, the character demolishment in some points, whether that be good or bad. We got the forward progress and real change. So these future stories, while they're fun on the surface level, at the end of the day, they just don't matter, and not mattering really takes away from a story. At least when it's overdone like they do with the X-Men comics. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you would like to get caught up on everything that is going on with this series, go ahead, check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. That's gonna get you caught up on everything that has been going on with the Age of Revelation as a whole. If you would like to support the channel, you can always do so by joining the channel membership. This is a lot like Patreon, having multiple different tiers from $1 to $50, from loyalty badges to comics every single month. Not only are you helping out the channel tremendously, but it's got a bunch of perks as well. Now, if you can't do that, please do me the favor, subscribe to the channel, like this video, hit that notification bell, and with that being said, until the next breakdown.